So for those of us who missed Pensa Ghana Conference 2020, I know we are learning a lot because of the few messages we keep playing week in and week out. So make sure you are tuned in because we want to learn how to be grounded. I like what Pastor just talked about. As a young person, do all to live as a young person. Don't be overly spiritual to the point where you are not living in your time. You understand? Be someone who is guided by godly principles. Be someone who is guided by principles from heaven, but live like you are in your time. Live like you're in your time, and you can be able to get people by living like you are in your time. If you want to go and talk to somebody, about Jesus, and then you go and you don't look like you are living in your time. But Banani Pakonuka Ushro say they would have a discussion or a conversation with you. So please live like you're in your time. And as young people today, we are looking at a nice topic. We are looking at intimacy before marriage. We want to understand some things about intimacy before marriage. For the past 2 weeks, we've been talking about how to build a healthy relationship, marks of a healthy relationship. We've learned so much. We've learned how to build a relationship with your beloved, how to build a relationship with your loved one, so that when it ends in marriage, you're having a very glorious end. We've looked at the red flags that you shouldn't close your eyes to, the red flags that you should be extremely mindful about. And today, intimacy before marriage. We have two wonderful people. There's a gentleman who is no new face to this show. Bright, you are welcome.
Thank you, Anna.
Bright Agropa is an author. He's been writing wonderful books and then a youth trainer. His recent book, Bright.
Possessing the Nations, the Mandates of the Modern Day Church.
The Mandates of the Modern Day Church. Right. And my favorite is actually the book on friendship, because it's taught me a lot. It's taught me that, like the red flags we are talking about, that some friends who are red flags, they are red flags on their own. So as soon as you see them, you should start running. So, right, thank you for the books you keep bringing and for sharing with us your the little wisdom that God has given you. And we have Dr. Mamisewa Yeboah. She's a doctor at the Tetekwashi Hospital. So, Doc, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Since it's a youth show, I think we are going to do away with the titles and then go with Mamisewa and Bright. Today we are looking at intimacy before marriage. Last week we were talking about marks of a healthy relationship. We had Elder Abraham Buje here, and he really gave us a lot on it. He's a married man. He's been married for 6 years, and he told us a lot of things that he went through before he got married, and some of the things that helped him and helped us with a lot of things. Since he's a sociologist, yes, or a social worker, he's gotten to learn so many things about people, looking at their social aspects, and then he helped us. Today we've brought in young people who are not married. We want to get this from the perspective of the unmarried, of the single, and see how you are able to handle some of these things. So you're welcome. We are looking at intimacy before marriage. We are millennials. They said that the millennials are quite troublesome, but another school of thought also said that if you do not listen to the millennials, you do not look at the things they are doing, you might get it wrong. So today, intimacy before marriage. Mama Sewa, relationships. As a young person in a relationship, how do you build your relationship to be a solid one, even before you looking at marriage?
Okay, so intimacy is a very vital part of a relationship, every relationship, and it simply means a level of closeness or friendship or togetherness you build with each other. So there are levels of intimacy. We have physical intimacy, which we would delve much more into. We have spiritual intimacy. We have emotional intimacy, and then we have mental intimacy.
Wow.
Yes. So with emotional intimacy, that one is built over time.
Okay.
It's built when, as you interact, you tell each other your heart desires, you open up, and it's even part of even normal friendships. It's part of the natural progression of normal friendships as well. Spiritual intimacy, with that one, you pray together. As Christian youth, you're in a relationship, you study the word, you talk about God together. It builds this level of closeness with each other as you move on.
Okay.
And then with mental intimacy, with that one, you talk about mentally stimulating things, the things you aspire to be. Maybe, oh, I want to do my master's here, I want to go into this field. Stimulating topics, you play games together, talk about politics, everything to stimulate one another. So I know that this person is someone I can move with. I click exactly. So then you know how to go about things in the relationship, and it helps. It builds you. With all these aspects are good. Then we come to the physical intimacy. That is where the problem is. I mean, most of us wish the Bible would tell us, do A, B, C, D. Don't do this. Don't do that. Leave this. Don't go here. Don't. We all wish it would just be clear cut like that. But unfortunately, Bible is silent about certain things, and that's where the challenge is for us, where the physical touch is, what to do, what not to do. That's where the problem is. But I think the Bible makes it clear. You should flee the evil desires of youth. You should flee sexual immorality. When you read Ephesians chapter 5 verse 3, it even says that sexual immorality and all this one shouldn't even be heard amongst you as children of God, as a youth. It shouldn't be part. It shouldn't be part at all. So with that, it's clear. Sexual immorality, it's clear. But what constitutes sexual immorality?
That is where the whole what's it called? The whole topic lies. What constitutes it? But I like that you brought up the different forms of intimacy, because anytime we talk about intimacy, the first thing everybody is talking about is physical intimacy. So before we move to physical intimacy, I like that you talked about the emotional, the spiritual, the mental. So I want to delve into the mental one first. So, Bright, mental intimacy for you and your beloved. What does it mean to have that kind of intimacy between you and your beloved?
All right, thank you, Abena. I believe for every relationship to thrive, you need to vibe.
Okay.
You need to be able to have mentally stimulating, conversations. So they want to talk about issues, every issue at all, that would, bring a spark, that would bring energy to your relationship. Any issue at all, that will keep you going. Just any topic at all that the two of you find comfortable, that lies within your domain, that interests you, because marriage is a long time project, and so you want to get somebody that you can share ideas with, somebody you find on the same page, somebody that has interest in the issues you also find interest in. And so you want to talk about any topic at all, any conversation that brings development, not just what brings you feeling. Sometimes you see people engage on topics that makes them, feel good about themselves without bringing development. Or we are talking of issues or topics that brings progress to your life, that inspires you to push forward, that brings out the best in you, that develops the two of you. You get to learn from each other, especially if you come from different fields. So if she's from the medical field, you are able to learn some medical terms. If you're from the business school, you learn some business terms. If he or she is from, the political science, sociology, any area at all, you get to learn. So it helps you to develop yourself in diverse forms.
Okay.
So you want to be close to your relationship, close to your partner on several topics that you can freely talk about and feel comfortable.
That will in the end lead to development.
Yes, development. If it's not developing your relationship, it's a cost 90 encounter.
You want us to have a very good mental intimate relationship, and then we are talking about something that is making us all happy, because we all understand it on a mental level. Yes. Whether it brings development or not, we are just connecting mentally.
If you are connecting mentally, it is development.
Okay.
If what you are saying connect the two of you mentally, it is development in itself.
Okay.
Yes.
So what kind of conversations will not give you development as a couple?
So if no couple, you are dating.
Well, as if beloved,
you are dating, and what you do or what you talk about every time as a way of sparking a relationship or to spice up things is sex. Nothing else. You would just talk about one thing that would even lead you into sin.
Okay, so but there's some couples.
I'm not saying it's bad to talk about sex. I am not saying it's bad to have sex. I believe it's very important to have that at certain point of your relationship. But if from the onset, every time you are talking,
that's the only thing you talk about.
Yes.
Well, there's some people who talk about politics every day. So for
that's a boring relationship.
Well,
I love politics.
For them, that's fine.
If it's fine with the two of you, cool. But how on earth? We talk about holistic development. I love to do politics. But I can't imagine doing politics every day. I have to at least get a social life. Even our president talks about love.
So we should
on platforms.
Okay.
Oh, I'm yet to see any balanced person. The Bible says that a false balance is an abomination to God.
Okay.
And so if you are talking about one thing every day, then there is no balance.
Okay. So for a mentally stimulating relationship to reach that intimacy, you need to make sure that you are looking at different things that stimulate.
Yes.
Okay. So, Doc, Mama Sewa, you're a doctor, and you guys talk about so many things happening in the brain that we've still not unraveled the many things that the brain can do. So having a very mentally stimulating relationship, what does it do for the general health of the person?
Well, it makes you happy.
Okay.
First, it makes you happy. I mean, you enjoy your time with the person. You know that this person is not boring. There's always something new to talk about.
Yeah.
And then for your personal development, I think it challenges you. I mean, if you are with someone who is ambitious, he's always looking forward to the next thing. You go like, I need to up my game. Like, I need to match my man. Like, I need to also get there. He would encourage you to move forward, to go higher in your career, in your spiritual work with God, in every aspect of your life. So for your personal development, it helps you. It really helps. And I think it also shifts the attention from a whole lot of unnecessary things, because if every time you meet you have something new to do, maybe you are playing a board game today, tomorrow you are going out here, you are talking about this issue, that issue, it shifts the focus, and then you realize that you get to know the person deeper. You understand you understand the person more. You know that and when Bryce does this, it means this. If he's here and he's saying this, then it means he wants me to do this. So then it makes you connect more, because you are exposed to the person's mind.
So for a person who is always chatting with their beloved and not trying to match up, let's say maybe the girl is the one who is really ambitious and you are not pulling your weight, or the guy is ambitious and the girl isn't pulling her weight, it means that they haven't reached that level of intimacy.
Great job.
Well, not necessarily. We should also know, in as much as we want to match up and everything, we should also know that we are all different. We are from different backgrounds. We were brought up differently. So what's my work for you? For me, maybe I'm comfortable in my life where I want to reach. This is where
you want to get to.
I will encourage you, I'll push you, but maybe this is where I want to be. So with that one, it depends on the individual. Maybe I identify that this gentleman can do more. Where he is good, but I think he can go further. I would encourage you to match up, not to say that I don't think you are.
So for someone who you're encouraging to match up, if the person isn't matching up, what do?
You don't give up. So far as you want to be with that person, you don't give up.
So, but if you're right,
of course, it's a matter of principle, and the person is just like a discount. That's different.
Okay.
But if it's not that, the person is hardworking too. I mean, you shouldn't.
You shouldn't give up. Okay, so mental intimacy. I like where we have gotten to. We've looked at that, because seriously, when we talked about this topic, everybody thought we were going straight into physical. I mean, well, so today I thank God that we've looked at mental intimacy. This is a new angle I'm happy we have looked at. So if you're in a relationship and then your beloved, it's like you cannot reach a setting on what number.
You can't talk.
You can't talk. You can't have a good discussion. I mean, you don't have any discussions that ginger you to do something. Something is off somewhere. So let's look at the emotional intimacy, the very, very good one. Emotional. So many people are going through emotional stuff. You find people who have beloveds, people who are in a relationship. Yet, I saw a tweet somewhere that someone said that there's nothing wrong if your boyfriend or your girlfriend isn't exactly your support system. And I was like, wow. So where'd you get some support from? So let's look at the emotional intimacy, right?
All right, thank you, Abena. Abena, I think that for a very purposeful relationship or dating, from what I've learned and my engagement with people as a youth trainer, it appears people feel more comfortable undressing their soul in front of their partners more than any other person. Because if your partner is your number one fan, then of course you prefer to talk to him or her about everything. And so one mark or sign of a very healthy relationship is the instance where your partner is able to tell you everything, what he or she is going through at every point in time. In fact, the essence of dating also has that you are able to, share your problems with your friend or your partner. And in dating, I expect it is important for your partner to be your friend,
best friend,
your best friend. Because in marriage, you need friendship. The time will come that your children would leave you, and it will take friendship to sustain the relationship. And it's important for you to have a best friend relationship, and it helps you to tell your partner about everything, what you are going through. See, sometimes it is a case that we share our issues not because we want solutions.
Okay.
There are times you just want an ear that is willing to hear you, a heart
that will feel.
Yes. And someone who will not judge you. There are people who are very judgmental. When you do something wrong and you tell them I've done that, the person will judge you as if he or she is a saint. So you need a partner that you can talk to about everything that bothers that bothers on your emotions. It's important because every human being goes through emotional issues. Because life is a very complex enterprise. It comes with a lot of issues. You have issues on the right-hand side, on the right, from the center, everywhere. And so you need somebody who you can connect to, somebody you can share your problems with. Everybody on this earth goes through emotional issues at a point in time. And one key person who can help you address that is a partner, a dating partner.
Okay.
So it's important if you are dating somebody and you cannot share your emotional concerns with the person.
So if you're dating somebody who can't be your number one fan, something is wrong.
Big error. Big error.
Oh, Bright, you're saying that your beloved should be your best friend. So what about your beloved isn't your best friend? You have a best friend. I mean, you had a best friend before you met the person. And then that best friend is always there for you. And then your beloved really maybe doesn't match up emotionally.
Oh, wow. So you have a best friend and you now have a partner. Now there are roles that a best friend, your best friend can play and roles that your best friend cannot play.
Okay.
Your partner is you see, for friendship, you can terminate it at any time.
Okay.
But if you take a relationship into marriage, you can't terminate it. So the ambition for a relationship is higher than the friendship you have with somebody.
Okay.
And so the moment I encourage that if you are dating, you had a best friend before you had a partner, I encourage. The fact that you start dating does not guarantee that status of best friend. The two of you must begin to look at each other and begin to build a stronger friendship that would override any other relationship or friendship, because the two of you have a future together. So if you are dating and your partner is not your friend, your best friend, you must start developing that friendship, that best friendship with that partner. Because there are things that your old friends cannot do for you that your partner can do for you. And you need your beloved more. There's an argument that, dating collapses. What about friendship? It also collapses. So it's a risk. The whole, venture of relationship is a risk.
Okay.
And so if you can't take risks, you can't even enter a relationship. So if you are dating, you must consciously work to keep your partner as your best friend for future purpose.
I think you are the ambassador for best friendship be? Because Brett is always on your partner being your best friend. So,
yes.
Mami Sewa, let's look at the emotional part, because we've looked at the mental part, and I for one really like the mental part that we went through. So the emotional part, like you said, with the mental one, you said that if your partner isn't matching up, you can try and help the person to match up. If the person doesn't want to, and you feel like the person is at a point where it is good enough, you should leave it. So how about the emotional one? Do you also compromise at that place, or at that time there's no compromise anywhere?
Emotional intimacy is very important. You cannot compromise
on it. Okay.
You should have that bond, and it comes with being open. You should be open with each other if you're in a relationship. Tell each other everything, like the things you can't share. Of course, there are some things that are reserved for marriage, but there are certain things that you should be open about.
Okay.
Talk to them, and it helps you to build trust in the relationship. The more you become emotionally intimate, your trust builds also, and that also helps the general well-being of the couple.
Right. So when you get more emotionally intimate, you build trust. So let's zoom into the spiritual, and then we are going to merge the spiritual intimacy and the physical intimacy as we're all looking at, because our time is really running. So let's look at, Bright, we'll start with you. Spiritual and physical intimacy before marriage. The what to do, the what not to do, where we should draw the line at intimacy, and where sometimes the lines look like they are blurry, so we don't know when we are stepping over or not. So let's look at that.
There is no one on earth who knows better than God. And when God said, do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers, there was a reason.
Okay.
Because God knew that you have to spiritually bond with that person. You need somebody who will draw you closer to God, not somebody who will take you away from God. In the Bible, we realize that the wives of Solomon drew his heart to idols. We realize also that Job was nearly swayed to leave God and to follow.
So looking at Solomon and Job, let's say that it means Job was a more, what's the word, disciplined man.
Yes, he was fortunate. He was disciplined. So the bottom line is that in relationship, your partner can either draw you closer to God or draw you closer to Satan. There is no middle ground.
Okay.
So you need somebody who would inspire you to get closer to God, who will inspire you to get connected to God, who would help you develop. You see, we all come from different backgrounds, and our levels differ. Because of that, we need a push from each other. So if party A is not spiritually strong, you expect that if you enter a relationship, that person would help you develop an intimate relationship with God, because an intimate relationship with God is a very strong anchor for a good relationship.
Okay.
If you are not close to God, you cannot have a good relationship, because God is love, and so relationship is about love. And so before you can have love, you must know God. You must be close to God. So you need a partner who will draw you closer to God. If you don't have that, you can't have a good relationship. So it is important that you get a partner who would help you, and especially it is a demand most often on the man's side. As a man, you are expected to be a leader in the house. Most men always want to, claim the title, I'm the head, but do not want to take the responsibility in it. If you're a leader, you should be a leader spiritually. You should be a leader in every sense of the word leadership. And so you want to be a man that leads your partner in the way that gets her closer to God. All right. So it is important that if you are dating, the two of you develop yourself. And I will keep saying that there is a greater, responsibility on the head of the man as a leader. You must really draw your partner closer to God. So if you're a lady listening to me and your man is not drawing you closer to God, you may want to rethink, talk to him. I'm not saying quit. You want to engage him and find ways of helping each other so that you will get closer to God. Because without intimacy with God, there can be no.
So let's link it with the physical intimacy before marriage. Where to draw the line, where to know that this is how far you can go.
You see, physical intimacy is very, very crucial. In marriage, you need it. In relationship, dating, you need it. But there is a limit in dating. The fact is that there are a lot of theories, a lot of doctrines about these things. So people have their own perspective, how they want to take it. What you may define as good may not be good for somebody. And so when we talk of physical intimacy, that people also call it sexual intimacy. We are talking of cuddling, fondling, kissing. How do people see it? In my church and in my view, those things are immoral.
Okay.
Some other people think it's normal.
Okay.
That you can't be dating and say you won't do anything.
Where anything is.
Like you won't kiss. It's abnormal. So people see it to be abnormal. So if you are dating and you're not kissing, you are abnormal. All right. So some people think it's okay to do. Others think it's not okay. From my view, I think it's the Bible does not stop. The Bible says we should flee from every sexual immorality. And Hebrews chapter 13 verses 4 tells us that God will judge us.
God will judge us. Yes. But also, that brings me to my message. When we started, you talked about there not being a very clear-cut distinction on what to do and what not to do. Even for marriage, there are some things that people do in marriage that some people say that is wrong.
Yes.
Yes. So, Mabesewa, let's come to you on spiritual intimacy and linking it with physical intimacy.
Okay, so with spiritual intimacy, we pray together, like you said, you build each other up spiritually, and it fosters the unity and everything. That's why in marriage, it says that the family that prays together stays together. When you are closer spiritually, every other part also bonds.
Okay.
So even in dating, spiritual intimacy is good, but can be dangerous in that you are spiritually intimate, you are bonded in all units. If you are not careful, you flip to the other side.
Yeah.
Because at a point there'll be this level of you talk about it. We don't want to do this. I'm not comfortable with this. I won't do this. I won't do that. And it helps. And you both be accountable to one another.
And to God.
And to God. To know that, no, we won't hug. We can give a handshake. Or maybe we won't meet behind closed doors all the time.
So this is what works for party A.
Party A.
Okay.
But party B too, they will give pegs and they are fine. Because where they are coming from, giving pegs
is normal.
Is normal.
So, I mean, the ultimate is not having sex, right? Because with all this, yeah, right, you are running a purity challenge. Yes, it's good. Let's bring this in before we end. Bright is running a purity challenge where every day he's bombarding us with. Yesterday, Bright told us that what would Jesus do? So, as you're stepping out to enjoy the Valentine, think about Jesus. You're running a purity challenge. What really is your message in a purity challenge?
Okay, the message is very simple. That's at every point in time, think about what Christ will do and do sin.
Okay.
At every point in time,
think about what Christ will
do and do sin. It's not just about sexual impurities. You are talking of what you see to what Christ said, the same thing. There's a song, the Presbyterian sing that song. Asembi Arabeka no Azibi Arabe. Forgive my voice.
Her voice is nicer.
Yes, so that's augmented.
Yeah.
So whatever you do, whatever you see, you just ask, would Christ do the same thing?
But there's some people who belong to the school of thought that if you are not sexually compatible, you do not feel any sparks for your partner. You see your partner and you don't feel like, I mean, this is a fine guy, this is a fine girl. You shouldn't end up with a person. What do we say about that?
Well, it's important
to feel the spark. It's necessary.
It's necessary. I mean, it's very important. But you should also do things in moderation. For me, my premise is anything you do that would sexually excite you, don't do it.
Don't do it, okay.
So if you hold hands and it will worry you, don't hold hands. If he would cuddle you, don't do that. Like whatever you do, make sure you know that this person, so far as you have all the other aspects of the intimacy going well, the physical one is one of the simple things that will come. Because it's nobody teaches anybody that. It will come. No one taught Adam and Eve.
Yeah,
it will come.
It will come.
But so what I would say is that, like I said earlier, whatever you do that would stimulate you that way, just avoid
and cause you to start having those guilty thoughts too.
Because everything, and people think it's just about sex, so I can do every other thing
apart from sex.
We can text and talk about those things. We can do phone things and
we have phone sex now.
Exactly, all those things are parts. Because what you feed your soul with is what you would.
Thank you. I like the end. What you feel, you feed your soul with is what will come out. So bright. We are ending. So your final words.
Let me talk about this sexual intimacy and the compatibility. It's one important thing in relationship. You see, I have a project to be coming out soon. And in that way, I took time to research and to know why people do things. Because from the background of sociology, we learned from a German sociologist by name Max Weber. He says that, he used the word Westerhen. You must understand people at the level meaning of the doer. In other words, put your shoes, your legs in the shoes of somebody to know why the person is. So I took time to know why people do that. It appeared that there are stories that when people marry without having sex, they end up to realize that they are disappointed. Maybe the man has a micro penis. So by way of testing, let's engage in this before we marry. Without that, we wouldn't. In the olden days, it was men who were requesting that as a sign of love, the moment you accept me, do something to show. So they end up having sex. But now the table has turned. Ladies want to know that does he have the size I want? That can he satisfy me? So because of that, they are now the agents. Asking. There's some women who say that it's not that I can't, I won't until we have it. We're not married. And these people are in the church. If you take time, I've taken time for the past 1.5 years. I've been researching.
So I'll be glad to read the
next book. So people want to experiment before they marry, so that if they are not satisfied, they'll quit.
Okay.
But you must trust God wholly. The Bible says the expectations of the righteous shall not be cut. So believe that whatever you pray to God, God will give you just as that. Don't be listening to social media and what people say. Some boastful comment about sex would push you to go into it. But please stay focused. Know who you are in Christ and stay.
I'm hoping that we'll have a continuation of this topic because I'm really enjoying it. And I like that today we started from the angle we started with, looking at the mental intimacy, looking at spiritual, looking at emotional. For me, my take home today is that you should focus on building the first three you mentioned, because the physical intimacy will really be built after you are married. Because if you do not build, some people will build only physical intimacy and then forget to build mental, spiritual, and then the emotional, and realize that they married somebody who is really heartless. They married somebody who really is very lacking spiritually. They married somebody who doesn't excite them in other ways apart from physically. So I like that we've started this, and I hope that we are going to have more. But I'm especially interested in the survey you have done. So we'll be hoping that the next time we have this discussion, we'll talk more on the survey. So thank you so much, Mami. Thank you so much. But thank you for the lesson on spiritual intimacy. The lesson, Bright said that you need to have a purposeful marriage. You need to have a marriage that's what? There's a vibe.
Yes, the vibe is important. Without the vibe, we have the spiritual vibe, the emotional vibe, the mental vibe. All of them must be present. If you are lacking one, you have to work hard.
So when you see your partner, at least you need to feel some nice tingling in your body. The electricity must come, but it shouldn't go to blow things up. So thank you so much. And viewers, I'm sure you have learned a lot today. For me, I'm taking home a lot about the emotional one, because you need to connect emotionally and then go to the mental part and come to the spiritual, and the physical will be part. So we should seek the kingdom. Yes, we'll cross it. When we seek the kingdom of emotional, spiritual, and then mental intimacy, it will be added. So thank you so much. Want to go and take a very short music ministration. We'll come back and wrap up the show. Stay tuned.